super lightweight title against a man he truly dislikes, the combative Greg Haugen. As a two-time world champion, Haugen has earned a reputation as one of boxing's most aggressive brawlers, both inside and outside the ring.
Ain't gonna happen, Julio.
How did this hatred begin? And will it influence the outcome of Chavez versus Haugen, the blood feud? Along with Chavez versus Haugen, there are 3 more title bouts, any one of which could easily headline almost any other fight card. Collectively, they feature 4 world champions and 1 #1 contender in what promises to be 3 of the most intriguing matchups of the year. Terry Norris, the WBC super welterweight champion and boxing's most versatile performer, will need all his skills to beat the cunning strategies and confusing attacks of IBF welterweight champ Maurice Blocker. It's a collision of styles, Norris versus Blocker. WBA super middleweight champion Michael Nunn has earned a reputation as one of the sport's best pure boxers while winning 39 out of 40 fights and 2 world titles. But now he's taking on the very dangerous Irish Dan Morgan, a super slugger who loves to turn every fight into a war. It's the boxer versus the brawler when Michael Nunn meets Irish Dan Morgan. And 3-time world champion Azuma Nelson, nicknamed the Professor, promises to teach #1 contender Gabriel Ruelas a lesson in their WBC super featherweight bout. It's the Professor versus the Pupil with Nelson against Ruelas. Stay tuned, because when we come back, we'll be looking into the stories, the strategies, and the behind-the-scenes intrigues of all 4 of these championship fights. Don't go away. Unbeknownst to many fight fans, most champions know each other as they train in the same gyms, fight on the same cards, and attend the same press conferences. Usually, the better-mannered fighters keep a civil distance from their potential opponents, knowing that anger has no role in the ring. Of course, there are exceptions: Jake LaMotta and Sugar Ray Robinson, Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier. But now, within boxing circles, one of the most talked-about feuds is the one between the normally even-tempered Julio Cesar Chavez and the pugnacious Greg Haugen. How this hatred began and how it will affect the outcome of this WBC super lightweight title fight are just a few of the many questions in the story of Chavez versus Haugen, a blood feud.
Knocking Julio Cesar Chavez out.
Obviously the baby you ain't big.
We'll see when the bell rings.
Every opponent always speaks a whole big game just before they're about to fight.
And every opponent who has fought Chavez has lost to Chavez. Born and raised in the rural hills of Mexico, the undefeated Chavez has become the most dominant fighter in the history of the sport. During his 13-year career, Chavez has earned 5 world titles in 3 different weight classes, while compiling boxing's greatest one-loss record with 84 victories against no defeats. And over the years, he has grown to accept the pre-fight confrontations as part of being a professional prize fighter.
I'm not tired of it, not really. But sometimes it bothers me. But after all, that's how this business is. I know that he has no chance of defeating me.
But maybe he's never been bothered by it, because he's never been up against Greg Haugen.
You know, it's not an act for me. It's just basic psychological warfare, and I want to win it.
Haugen has been winning since he started fighting for money in the tough man contests in the bars of Alaska. Weighing less than 140 pounds, he took on all comers and never lost a fight.
They were all different sizes. The biggest guy I fought was like 210 pounds. It wasn't the greatest pay, but it was fun, you know. It paid for the night's worth of beers.
After entering into the professional ranks, Haugen, in only his 20th fight, won the first of his 2 world titles by beating the heavily favored and highly regarded Jimmy Paul.
You gotta understand, I'm in that game of pain. You know, it's not a very good game sometimes, but there can only be one winner, and I'd much rather be me than them.
Haugen, throughout his career, has routinely antagonized his opponents and turned his fights into professional vendettas. But his feud with Chavez that began in a Las Vegas gym seems more personal than professional.
On one occasion, when I was preparing myself in Las Vegas, I was boxing with my sparring partners, and he said they weren't good enough.
He was sparring young little girls' dresses on, is what I said. And I told him I'd be willing to spar him for free to help him out.
I've disliked him since that moment.
Over the years, the feud has continued to escalate. Neither man backing down, both men wanting to fight.
He says after he beats the out of you, then he'll take it.
I've been drinking too much tequila.
Conventional wisdom says a fighter should be aggressive, not angry, for rage can sap his strength and distract him from his intended purpose of winning. But how will Haugen's aggressive pre-fight tactics affect their fight on February 20th? Needless to say, both men disagree.
The more I get under his skin, the more I'm going to piss him off. And the more I do that, the more he's not going to think about what he's supposed to be doing. There's going to be more he wants to think about hurting me. And once he does that, he's going to lose his train of thought, and there's an advantage for me. So I want to be under his skin like a vein.
I think that talk is cheap, and he's trying to influence people into overlooking the obvious. Everyone knows who I am and who I have defeated. And he will just be another of the many that I have defeated.
The fight between Julio Cesar Chavez and Greg Haugen will be a savage one, as both men will use all their skills and all their fury to become the WBC super lightweight champion of the world. But that is only one of the 4 world-class championship bouts you can see on the Grand Slam of boxing. It's coming up when we come back. A fighter's greatest ambition and most rewarding moment is to hear himself declared the champion of the world. The magnitude of the simple phrase evokes the deepest of emotions, for he has earned boxing's ultimate prize and achieved his loftiest dreams. Along with the title fight between Julio Cesar Chavez and Greg Haugen, the Grand Slam of boxing features 3 more title bouts, as 6 of the best fighters in the world battle it out to hear themselves declared the champion of the world.
I'm a champion. It feels good to be. So it's your life. It's something that you work so hard to get. You know, that's something nobody can take away from you.
When ferocious WBC super welterweight champion Terry Norris takes on crafty 2-time world champion Maurice Blocker, it'll be one of the year's most interesting clash of styles. Many believe Terry Norris is the heir apparent to Chavez's mythical yet prestigious title of best pound-for-pound fighter today. Over the last 8 years, Norris has been earning a reputation inside the boxing community by fighting and beating the best contenders in his tough weight division. A big right hand by Norris. But in 1991, he gained public recognition when he ended the career of the legendary Sugar Ray Leonard.
I was happy that Ray Leonard wanted to fight me. Ray Leonard, passed the baton to Terry Norris. Ray Leonard so far made Terry who he is, a little bit of who he is today. I beat Ray Leonard, and that put me above all the rest.
He stays above all the rest with his boxing skills, athletic abilities, and natural instinct for finishing an opponent.
I got a the kill instinct that's put inside me that, I don't know where I got it from, but it's just that I just want to destroy everything that comes in front of me.
When he fights IBF welterweight champion Maurice Blocker, he'll be facing one of boxing's most cunning champions and most curious physical specimens. Moving from 148 to 154 pounds will not bother the fighter they call the Thin Man. 6 feet tall with a 76-inch reach, he uses his long arms and superb boxing skills to confuse his opponents.
Somebody said one time that Maurice dissect his opponent. Whether I do it fast or slow, I don't know. But my ultimate goal is to try to, the sport is boxing, and I try to outbox my opponent.
Can Terry Norris's savage offense and versatile skills overwhelm Maurice Blocker's long arms and cunning strategies? If styles make fights, then this battle for the WBC super welterweight title could be one of the most interesting championship matchups of the year.
Ever since I started boxing, I dedicated myself to become a world champion.
Once I achieved it, it was just a great feeling. Like, I finally did it.
When one of the sport's best pure boxers, WBA super middleweight champion Michael Nunn, faces the wild style and heavy-handed power of Irish Dan Morgan. It's the classic confrontation between the boxer and the brawler. Since Michael Nunn turned professional almost 10 years ago, this native of Davenport, Iowa, has become one of the most accomplished, most skilled pure boxers in the sport. Although his great hand speed, masterful combinations, and outstanding footwork have earned him the admiration and respect of boxing insiders, his lack of a big punch has not always made him a fan favorite.
Well, the fans, you know, they're looking for a lot of blood and stuff, you know what I mean? Quite naturally, my style's not accustomed to that. I try to capitalize on my physical attributes. That's my boxing and my speed. And that's what's beneficial to Michael Nunn, and that's what's brought me this far, so why not use what's made me successful?
By relying on his natural abilities and boxing skills, Michael Nunn has won 39 out of his 40 fights and earned 2 world titles.
They got to understand one thing, you know, you got to do what you do best. And if that's box, that's box. If that's punch, that's punch. You got to do what makes you happy.
But now, Michael Nunn is facing the most dangerous of opponents, a brawler with a big knockout punch. Irish Dan Morgan, with his impressive 41-2 record, has earned his reputation as a big-time banger by knocking out almost 3 out of every 4 opponents he faces.
All I know is I'm a banger when I'm fighting, and I bang somebody with a real hard shot, and I can feel that it really hurt. I'll finish them up with a couple of shots, and usually they'll stay down.
Will Michael Nunn be able to use his skills to outwit and outpoint his opponent? Or will Dan Morgan be able to end the fight early with his lethal haymaker? The answer to these questions will decide who will be the next WBA super middleweight champion of the world.
Every fighter that starts fighting, all he wants to be is a world champion.
When I feel that, I say, Lord, I thank you for making me what I am.
When the learned skills of the veteran professor, WBC super featherweight champion Azuma Nelson collide with the talents of the young upstart, #1 contender Gabriel Ruelas, it'll be a classic matchup of the professor versus the pupil. With his great punching power and natural strength, Azuma Nelson, the 34-year-old 3-time world champion from Ghana, fights more like a heavyweight than a 135-pounder. But what makes him one of the greatest ever in the lighter divisions is his magical, almost mystical ability to anticipate an opponent's every move.
When I'm fighting you and you move your left leg, you move it, I know what you're going to do. You know, if you move your head, I know what you're going to do. Anything you do, I know what is coming after.
Perhaps the most vivid example of this happened in the 8th round of his fight against 2-time world champion, Australian Jeff Fenech.
Look at Fenech's right side of the face is completely open. See it? There's the hook. Right there it is. Right there it is. And there goes Fenech for the 3rd time of the fight.
Just as he did against Fenech, Nelson often fights in his opponent's home country before large, hostile crowds. But none will be larger and more hostile than the one in Azteca Stadium. For Nelson has already beaten 8 Mexican contenders in a division traditionally ruled by Latin fighters.
It would be great for me to have my first professional fight in Mexico, you know, getting the title shot and getting the belt in my country.
Gabriel Ruelas, born in Mexico and raised in East L.A., promises to be the next great super featherweight champion. His great hand speed and defensive skills have earned him the #1 ranking by the WBC at only 22 years old. And at a recent post-fight press conference, some believe Ruelas' youthful temperament was able to provoke Nelson into this fight.
If you really wanted to fight me, you would have fought me tonight. I was ready. I was up in training camp training for your ass.
Hey, don't worry. Talk like a gentleman, okay? Don't worry. Don't talk like a bush boy, okay?
Hey, don't tell me how to talk first off, all right?
That was very personal. It just came out of me. I was very pissed off. Just to show everyone that, you know, that at least this Mexican's gonna, you know, really gonna kick his ass. You can edit that.
Whether or not the anger was genuine, one thing is certain. The WBC super featherweight title bout between Azuma Nelson and Gabriel Ruelas is possibly the most classic, most competitive matchup in boxing. The wily old champion against the hungry young challenger. Coming up, the fighters have the final word. On Saturday, February 20th, as each of the fighters enter into the ring here in Mexico City's gigantic Azteca Stadium, They'll be competing for the most precious of boxing prizes, the championship of the world. Although these 4 bouts with their American, African, and Central American fighters have generated enormous interest around the world, the action inside the ring will be decided by the fighters themselves.
When the bell rings for the first round, I'm going to come out and I'm going to run right at him. I'm going to come right at him and I'm going to be sticking him. And I'm going to be sticking him hard. And I'm going to let him know that I'm here. And I'll be talking to him, saying a lot of choice things to him.
I know he's a big talker, and he also has this constant smirk. There's just something about him that makes me dislike him. And I promise that I am going to give him a beating. And that's a promise that I'll keep. He's going to regret ever accepting to fight me.
I'm not going to say fighting somebody as good as Terry Knowles, because how about fighting somebody as good as Maurice Blocker? So I'm not going to say fighting somebody as good as Terry Knowles. Terry Knowles is a great champion. I'm a great champion. 2 great champions going to collide heads. That's how I look at it.
I wish him well. Hope that he can do whatever he has to do to try to beat me. But I can't right now see Terry Knowles ever been beat.
Michael Nunn's a good fighter. Got the flashy moves, fancy footwork, good-looking kid. But when I get in there, start brawling, the blood's flying, teeth flying, he's going out and the fight's over.
I have a tendency to bring out the best in a guy, and that's going to be great because the better he is, the better Michael Nunn's going to be. It'll be a chess match, and I'll take the initiative with the fight going, and I'll take control.
I really have the feeling that, you know, I can knock him out. But if it goes to decision, hey, when the referee raises my hand, you know, he'll be beaten up.
If the guy stand there with me from first to 7th round, he's not going to fight again. He'll have to retire from the boxing. And this, I mean, the way I'm going to whip this guy, I think this is his last fight.
For the first time in televised boxing history, there will be 4 championship bouts on one night of fighting. It's the Grand Slam of Boxing, live Saturday, February 20th, only on pay-per-view. I'm Steve Albert, and I'd like to thank you for watching. See you ringside.